Now you already have an idea what King's Day or Koningsdag is. At any corner of the street or park or whatever you might think of, there's always something to do at King's Day. The most popular public holiday in the Netherlands. Now let's catch this metro to the Indo capital of the world, the beautiful city behind the dunes, Den Haag, The Hague. Let's go! Hey everybody, I'm here at Den Haag Central Station meeting up with my longtime friend I've never seen or met before. This is Calvin De Wilde, or Wild Kevin, whatever you want to call him.
Well.
And we both share the same stories. Both are Indo, we have Indonesian, we have Chinese, we have Dutch, we have Belgian, blood running through our veins. And finally we meet here in the Netherlands. From all the places in the world, we meet over here, right? And the nice thing is, today we're gonna spend in The Hague, the Indo capital of the world. This is something traditional Dutch, een draaiorgel. It ain't much, but it ain't Dutch. So Calvin, here we are in, they say in Dutch, Hartje Den Haag, in the middle of The Hague. So we met on Facebook, in the beautiful Facebook group Dutch Indo Community, right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more, what's the connection with Hindia Blanda, with the Dutch East Indies?
My connection?
Yes.
So I guess when my grandma died, 2005,
Okay.
it left me a bit of sadness because I feel that I didn't know her enough.
Okay.
She always cooked for me. She was like the sweetest person in the family.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I never questioned why she spoke Dutch.
Okay, so you grew up, I mean, basically you grew up listening to her, she speaking in Dutch, right?
Yeah, she always spoke Dutch to
Your
Opa,
yeah.
but as a secret language. At that time, I thought, oh wow, maybe all elderly people in that East Indies spoke Dutch.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Before I went to the US, I sold my shopping gallery. There you go. See? I'm Michael Passage, and that's what I sold. I have a lot of respect for this guy.
Is that your family connection? Like, do you have connection with your family?
I sold it for 2 million euros.
Oh.
2 million euros. the passage. Inside joke. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
So,
Let's joke.
so Opa and Oma spoke Dutch, right? They were
Yeah.
talking. You were born. What year you were born?
86.
86. Okay. So, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they were still speaking Dutch, right?
I think so.
Okay. So, going back to history, where did your Opa's family come from, and where did your Oma's family come from?
My Oma family came from Batavia,
Yeah.
but from Opa family, they came from Manado.
Manado.
Yeah.
Northern Sulawesi.
Yeah, I guess they met in Surabaya,
Okay.
if I remember it right. So it came from my maternal grandmother
Yes.
family surname. My official name is actually an Indonesianized Chinese surname.
Okay.
So if you recall the history, Chinese people in Indonesia were forced to change their name to Indonesian sounding.
So under which president was that? Sukarno, Suharto?
President Suharto.
Suharto. Okay.
So yeah, I grew up not really attached to this fake surname.
Yeah.
So
On your passport, it has your.
Indonesianized
Okay,
surname.
yeah.
So yeah, but since I moved, it was not really a problem if I live in Indonesia.
Yeah.
But if after I moved to the Netherlands, I think it's more practical to
De Wilde.
Yeah, to use the De Wilde.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, explain the viewers. Was it hard to live in Indonesia, to grow up in Indonesia? You're born in the 80s, but for those born right after Indonesia's independence,
Yeah.
was it hard for Indonesians with a Chinese ethnicity
Yeah.
to live, to grow up? Because Indonesia's economy is based on Indonesian Chinese. I mean, the top 10 of the richest Indonesians are Indonesian Chinese. So, how, from one side, was it difficult for Chinese Indonesians to grow up, to live in Indonesia, while they are the wealthiest ones in Indonesia?
Right, that's a very good question because I personally quite oblivious about the discrimination when
Yeah.
I was a children. All I knew was, well, I'm Indonesian, I speak Indonesia,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I realized there are some invisible walls.
Uh-huh.
When I look back at my childhood, all my friends were Chinese Indonesians.
Yeah.
And when my mom discovered I met a friend from native Indonesian,
Yeah.
he said, "No, don't play with this kid. He's from Kampung."
Yeah.
I was like, "What?" He had video games, and
Yeah.
surely he's middle class. But again, I didn't play with him anymore. And as I grew up, I realized there were more things I didn't know, especially after May '98, where Chinese Indonesian become subject of persecution.
May 98, that was still under President Suharto, right?
Yeah, it was quite traumatic for everyone, including me.
Hey, we're here in Den Haag, The Hague, and as I said, The Hague is the Indo capital of the world. Why? Because we came here in The Hague in the early 50s, and now of course there is also the Indonesian embassy, KBRI, is also here in The Hague. And what happened? I'm walking and I met the mother and daughter, or two sisters, I don't know.
Oh, nice.
So, who are you guys? Where do you live? Where do you guys come from?
We come from Jakarta.
Jakarta.
But we live here in the Netherlands.
Yes.
Yes.
Rijswijk.
We live in
Rijswijk.
Rijswijk.
Yeah. Husband is maybe working at the embassy?
No.
No. Okay, good. So, in Jakarta where?
Jakarta Selatan.
Selatan.
South Jakarta.
South Jakarta. Good. So, you guys wearing orange, okay? What do you know about King's Day or Koningsdag?
Yeah, it's the celebration for the king,
Yeah.
Willem-Alexander.
Yeah?
Yeah. And actually, it's supposed to be on the 27th.
Yeah.
But because 27th is on the Sunday, so then
They celebrated it today.
today, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the first year you're celebrating King's Day?
No, this would be our second year.
But this is the first year we're actually going out and doing something for
no,
King's Day. 'Cause-
actually no, we've done that before.
Yeah, but like last year.
No, not last year. The year before.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
We did go out.
We just moved here in 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Studying, working,
Yeah.
working and studying.
Yeah.
study, Delft, Erasmus, Rotterdam.
No, I don't go to college. I'm still in high school, so.
There you go. You have plans to go to continue education over here, or are you going back to Indonesia?
Yes, I want to continue my education here.
Any idea where you want to go?
Maybe like Erasmus.
Erasmus.
I think that's a nice.
Rotterdam.
Yeah.
It's nice. Well,
Yeah.
nice to meet you. And you
you.
can watch it later on SoCal Indo.
SoCal.
Indo.
So-called Indo.
Indo,
Okay.
SoCal, Southern California.
Ah,
Okay.
okay. Well.
Okay, I bet you we have the same common friends.
Okay.
Okay, bye bye. Thank you, yeah.
Have a nice
Bye-bye.
day.
Thank you. My question to Calvin is, how was it with the Chinese Indonesians during the Bersiap? A, did you guys learn about it in high school? And B, were you guys also subject of violence and were they also chasing your people?
Okay, that's a very good question. The first question about how Bersiap is being portrayed in Indonesian history books, I would say nothing. So generally, if I remember right, from all the historical education in my school, our history about 45 and 46 almost always focus on the vacuum of power. What is vacuum of power? So if you remember history, the Japanese surrendered to the Americans after they were nuked, and there was no power administrated the Dutch East Indies. The emphasis was, okay, the Japanese lost the war, let's size the nation. The Pemuda are usually depicted as the heroes.
The nationalists, yeah?
Yeah. We were told, oh, the Pemudas fought the Dutch soldiers with bambu runcing, bamboo sticks.
The species, sticks, yeah?
Yeah, and eventually they were defeated. But here's why this history become like obscure. Nobody ever questioned, was it make any sense? Like how could bamboo stick could fight against tanks? Eventually, I learned as early as maybe 2013 when I met the Dutch Indo community about Bersiap, and I was quite shocked when found that the bamboo sticks were used to kill civilians. This was never mentioned in our history books at all.
Growing up in Jakarta, did you feel that there was always made a difference between Javanese, Sumatranese or Manadonese versus you with the Chinese background?
That's very good. That's a question to answer.
Because under Suharto, your family and other Indonesian Chinese families had to change their last names, right?
Yep.
And they still can recognize by the last name is from Chinese ethnicity, yeah?
Yeah.
You think you felt the difference, or he is more prioritized because he has Waluluyo, he has a Javanese name versus you had a Indonesian name but Chinese recognizable?
Yeah, if you say if there is like discrimination,
Did you feel discriminated in Indonesia in the 80s, 90s when you grew up?
when it is, to be honest, I don't really feel it. But again, I was a bit oblivious because I thought I was like, oh, I was just Indonesian with Chinese ethnicity. There was no discrimination, but it was just because my parents never told me about this. It's just getting worse after '98, and I was starting to feel a bit more conscious about my identity. But then I was enrolled in Catholic schools all my life, so most of my friends were either non-Muslims or Chinese Indonesian, who are mostly Christians or Buddhists. I only interacted with, let's say, native Indonesian pribumi when I went to Bandung for my bachelor degree. At that time, I started to feel, oh, okay, there is difference between Chinese Indonesian and Indonesians, and like we need to respect that they don't eat pork, because I was always eating pork.
Yeah, that's the Chinese favorite. Over here we have. You have to go to Phat Kay. You been there?
Of course.
Babi panggang. That's
But-
a Chinese man's favorite food.
But to be honest, I think the discrimination of ethnic group was not really that bad until 2017. This is when I would say everyone starting to label themselves either Muslim versus non-Muslim. If you remember, in 2017 there was a election in Jakarta. Suddenly, like, Calvin, you are non-Muslim. I was like, what? And it's just become the most polarizing election in Indonesia, and it just make ban your identity. I don't know, maybe like Republican and Democrat.
Yeah.
But Indonesia, it's very common to call yourself, oh, I'm Muslim. I'm not Muslim. I'm non-Muslim. I find it very weird. Like, you identify yourself as your religious identity instead of your ethnic group. I don't know.
And it will also be because on your identity card it says agama, religion, Muslim or Christian or
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird thing. Like, I grew up not talking about Muslim versus non-Muslim, but suddenly in 2017,
it popped up. Right?
yeah, it popped up. It's so weird.
So we had this beautiful talk with this Indonesian mom and daughter, and now I'm standing next to Sheldon. And look, Sheldon is not Dutch, but he is a pro-Dutch orange.
Yes, definitely from South Africa.
Max Verstappen. Oh,
yes,
from South Africa.
From South Africa, yeah.
Jij spreekt Nederlands een beetje.
Spreek een beetje Nederlands.
Yeah. Nice. So, what you guys visiting or you live here?
We live here, yeah.
What do you know about King's Day or Koningsdag?
King's Day, Koningsdag. Unfortunately, it's our first one,
Yeah.
so we're just here to experience the vibe. We got the memo for Orange, and Orange, and just walking around different cities and checking it out. But the history not too strong.
That's okay. So Willem-Alexander is born 27 April 1967, same date like me. So I'm always honored that the flags are hanging out on my birthday. But tomorrow is Sunday, so they move it a day before.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're a Formula One fan. Do you remember the name of the South African who once won a few Grand Prix? You should know that.
Yes, I do, but I cannot. I remember he was there in Johannesburg.
Jody.
All right.
Hey, thank you very much.
All right,
Sheldon.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Cool,
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah.
Cheers.
So I'm here with Calvin in front of the one and only Indo store, the Muson. But yeah, of course it's King's Day, so they're closed. But if you're in The Hague, you have to go to the Muson and ask for Vivian. Vivian, like Vivian in Pretty Woman. Vivian. And Calvin, I were talking about your opa and oma. Opa is Indonesian from Chinese, how you say Chinese ethnicity. There you go.
Yeah.
Oma, that's De Wilde, right? That's a European name.
Yeah.
How was it for you, or maybe you heard from the stories from your opa? How was it for Indonesian Chinese to grow up in Indonesia, to work in Indonesia, and can you tell a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I guess there are two different stories. For example, from my father's side, they are more totok, which means more pure. And my grandpa from my mom's side, he was more Peranakan. So he had a mix of Manadonese and Chinese.
Yeah. Peranakan, what's the definition in English with your own words? Peranakan.
I guess you could say it's used to refer the Chinese people who were already integrated to the Southeast Asian community. So sometimes they don't speak Mandarin at all. They probably maybe speak Hokkien, but almost always the local language. And in Indonesia, they work as mostly merchants, traders. They went to Dutch schools. So I guess my grandpa from my mom's side, he was more pro-Dutch, I guess. And I guess from my father's side, they were more pro-Chinese, more pro-China. So yeah, that's the situation. And let's say, was it hard to grow up as Chinese in Indonesia? Because there were a lot of restriction in expression culture. I would say it was the case because at that time, my father couldn't enroll in Chinese schools. We were not allowed to express Chinese festivals like Imlek, Chinese New Year. And I guess we grew up mostly with Indonesian language. It became awkward because we were forced to assimilate. And in '98, it became useless anyway because Chinese Indonesians become subject of violence, and it made me question like, why even we were forced to assimilate? What is the purpose of losing your identity and your culture if in the end we were still foreigners? Yeah, that's how retrospectively thinking about the situation.
So also what I would like to ask, and which is definitely good to know, why did Indonesians with Chinese ethnicity had to change their last name?
Right.
You can recognize them by the last name, but tell the viewers why your family had to do it and all the other families.
Right. I would say it's just because Suharto was xenophobic when during that time, I think it was the peak Cold War, and Indonesia became more aligned to the States, and China was the communist part. So they needed to to assimilate Chinese Indonesians. There were two camps, assimilationists and integrationists. The first one was advocating to completely assimilate Chinese Indonesians to the point Chinese Indonesians should be Indonesians, and the second is Chinese Indonesians should integrate but retain their distinct culture. You can see the success example in Malaysia. Despite the discrimination experienced by the Chinese Malaysians, they can still express their culture, and there is no feeling of shame for being Chinese. That's how I see it.
So there's a difference between 1 hour flying from Jakarta to Kuala Lumpur.
Yep.
Let's say if your uncle was living there, he could live like any local, versus you growing up in Jakarta or wherever, Makassar or in Surabaya.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, there are some pro and cons. Like the nation said, yeah, look at the Chinese Malaysians. They don't even speak Malay. And then the Malaysians say, look at the Chinese Indonesians. They don't speak Mandarin or Hokkien, and they speak Indonesian. Yeah, but we are, I don't know, still treated as foreigner, descendant of foreigners. So I don't know. I feel Chinese Malaysians are luckier.
I'm standing here with a very lovely, beautiful family from the Philippines. And what is your name?
Itu Sheila, I am Itu Sheila. I'm Pia.
Yeah. You guys live here?
Yeah.
What do you know about King's Day or Koningsdag?
It's where we celebrate the king's birthday.
And do you know the name of the king?
It's Willem-Alexander.
There you go. How long you've been here in the Netherlands?
I've been 2 years.
2 years? So you guys go to Dutch schools or international schools?
Dutch.
I heard though it just got overturned.
You speak Dutch?
A bit.
Een beetje. What about you?
No, I only speak English.
Only English. So the Philippines, where are the Philippines?
Sorry?
Which city from the Philippines you guys come from?
Cebu.
Cebu. Do you know I have Indonesian roots. Do you know Tagalog and Indonesian have a few similar words? Name me one. What are you wearing now?
Orange.
No? That.
Shoes. Zapatos.
Sepatu is also in Indonesian sepatu. How you say a kid in Tagalog?
Kid.
A kid, yeah, a child.
Bata. Oh, bata.
Or anak.
Yeah, anak.
Yeah, see?
Anak is a child.
Child, yeah. And I know a long time ago when I was your age in the 70s, there was this Filipino singer, Freddie Aguilar.
Yeah.
And he had a song called Anak.
Yeah.
Well, girls, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge about a different kind of king, a king from a different country, because the Philippines has a president, right? Do you know the name of the president?
Yeah. Bongbong Marcos. Or yeah, President Bongbong Marcos.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Well, that was a day, a King's Day, a Koningsdag here in the Indo capital of the world, Den Haag, The Hague. And we had a chance to meet up with Calvin De Wilde. Calvin De Wilde. Yeah, we've been talking to each other for years on Facebook, and just like he mentioned, a lot of stuff about our Dutch East Indies, Hindia Belanda history was never mentioned during his school days in high school. And thanks to this Facebook group, Indo Dutch or Dutch Indo group on Facebook, he learned a lot from other members or subscribers from that Facebook close group. And interesting to meet up with foreigners, non-Dutch people here celebrating King's Day. It's always nice to hear what they think of a traditional Dutch public holiday. Thanks for watching. My metro is arriving. Subscribe to our channel, like, and leave a comment. We will always respond to that. Bye.